Marie Curie. The Sklodowska family studied together in the evenings so that the parents, who were both teachers, could help the children, Zosha, Bronya, Ella, and Wojciech, with their homework. Władysław Sklodowski had a huge appetite for learning and made sure his children grew up with a respect for education. His wife, Bronisława, was the headmistress at a girls' school in Warsaw, Poland. One evening, as her 7-year-old sister, Bronya, stumbled over a passage she had to read aloud, Władysław and Bronisława's youngest child, little 3.5-year-old Marie, or Mania as she was called at home, picked up her older sister's book. Taking up from the point where Bronya had left off, she began reading fluently, effortlessly, from the textbook, completely unaware of the astonished expressions of her family members. When she looked up and saw the almost horrified look on the faces of her parents and siblings, she grew frightened and burst into tears.
"I did not do that on purpose,"
she said, explaining her action.
"It was just so easy."
When Marie was born on 7th November 1867 in a town house on Warsaw's Fretter Street, her mother was the headmistress of one of Warsaw's better girls' schools, adjoining their home. For the first few years, Marie, who was the youngest of 5 children, would see her mother struggling with the work of running a big household, as well as the school. In these years, the house had visiting guests as well as students, and one of these, Władysław's brother, came to live with them when he was ill, in the terminal stages of tuberculosis. This disease, which spreads mainly through the germ-infected air when somebody who already has the disease coughs or sneezes, afflicted Marie's mother when Marie was still quite small. The disease was then incurable, managed by a series of rest and recuperation treatments in places where the climate was not so cold. Thus began a period of yearning for little Marie, because her mother often had to be away at a sanatorium in the south of France. Only Marie's oldest sister, Zosha, could go with her. The greatest tragedy of young Marie's life occurred when her mother died a few months before her 11th birthday. Afterwards, Marie and her sisters would often play a make-believe game about a genius doctor who finds a miracle cure for a serious illness. Marie's dream of using science and medicine to help humanity was rooted in her encounter with tragedy very early in life. Not only did she lose her mother, but 2 years before this tragic event, her elder sister, Zosha, had passed away too. The foundation of Marie's later learning was laid in her childhood by her father's diligent efforts to teach his children Greek, Latin, Russian, Polish, French, German, and English by reading to them, besides sharing with them books on physics and chemistry. Marie took so naturally to learning and reading that her parents tried to prevent her premature development by distracting her with outings and boisterous games. During her childhood, Poland was occupied by Russian forces. When she began studying in the private school of Miss Sikorska, there were periodic inspections by Russian inspectors to see if the children were being taught Russian. It was forbidden to teach the children in their own mother tongue of Polish, but the teachers did just that. Marie's teacher, Antonina Tupalska, knew Marie's flawless grasp of anything that was taught to her. When the inspectors arrived to check the students' knowledge of the Russian language and history, Marie Sklodowska was always put forward as the example to be interrogated by the inspector. She spoke flawless Russian and answered all the questions put to her, but the effort sometimes proved to be too great a strain on Marie. After each such ordeal, Marie would weep in the arms of Miss Tupalska, her nerves exhausted by the effort of covering up for the whole school. After her mother and eldest sister's deaths, it had been Marie's sister, Bronya, who had taken over the responsibility of looking after the family. And yet, Bronya